because the split squats have caused me more emotional and physical pain than any other movement. And if I have to bear them through my programming, and I have to then add these variations like the elevated back foot and the elevated heel to make them harder and more painful for me, I feel like it is only fair that we endure that torture together. We're in business today. Basically, what is occurring is obviously another video. And today it is a workout analysis, like review kind of video. And we're actually going to look at LeanBeefPatty and her leg day at a new gym. And I thought this would be a really good opportunity to look at a structured workout by somebody who's very known in the industry and somebody who's very respected in the industry, and give my opinion on the workout, be that like technical opinion regarding things that could maybe improve, things that are good, maybe even workout structure, so movement selection, movement order, all those bits and bobs, and hopefully you'll be able to apply some of what I say in this video to your training. But before we kind of crack on with the video, you obviously know what I'm about to say. If at any point you decide you like this video, please let me know you like this video by dropping a like on the video. 1,300 likes is the goal, so I would really appreciate it if we could hit that. If you haven't already, and maybe if you actually learned something from this video, then please do consider clicking the red button down below to subscribe to the channel, and maybe even the bell next to it so you get notified when I upload every week, twice a week. And if you have a question you want me to answer at the end of my next video perhaps, please consider drop it down below in the comment section for comment question of the week, and I shall indeed get to it. The hat is an interesting one because obviously I'm going with a theme of bucket hats again, but without meaning to, I've got orange on my head and orange on my Gengar, because obviously it's Pokemon. Hello. I know I spoke about the fashion industry briefly in the last video. At this stage I'm thinking obviously TFNL fitness channel, TFNL fashion channel, 2 channels, 1 figure. If my fitness career ever goes down the pan, then I think I could have a backup plan in the old fashion industry. And not so much the modelling side of things, more just the sick outfits, you know. Obviously, we're going to crack on with the video now. The LeanBeefPatty is very popular on the old TikTok machine. That's her kind of primary platform, although her YouTube channel is growing very quickly and it's great to see. We're going to kind of skip the intro and all those kind of bits because I feel like there's not a lot I can really say there and I don't want to waste your time. And I will be muting the video at points because there are some segments in which music is featured, and obviously when I feature music in my videos, this is me, this is YouTube. Not a good time. YouTube hates me. Well, YouTube doesn't hate me, might do, but YouTube hates music that is not copyright free.
A lot of mobility is pretty subjective because everybody's needs are different.
Actually, I agree with this. A lot of mobility is subjective, and a lot of mobility may also actually depend on what you're training on that day. So for example, if you were doing like a leg session, like a lower body session where you're probably incorporating some squat variations or variations in which you'll need significant amounts of knee flexion, you would probably consider a bit more ankle mobility, maybe some calf releasing to kind of help loosen up that area to help you squat deeper, leg press deeper, hack squat deeper, whatever it may be. It very much depends on what you need essentially mobilizing, also what you're training that day. Typically your mobility routine, should you incorporate one, I would typically expect to last for about up to 15 minutes or so. You don't want to do too much, but again, this is really just does depend on you. That's just preference. This could be quite a good ankle mobility drill here. As you can see, she's really trying to drive that knee as far forward as possible, which can be quite a good time when you're considering like improving squat depth or similar bits and bobs, which is bloody flexible. Bloody flexible. Wow, impressive, and also makes me feel horrendously embarrassed because I can't even touch my toes. So this is actually a sissy squat, which a lot of people actually include or incorporate into their workouts. It's typically a movement I would maybe consider pairing with something like a leg extension if you're doing like a compound set, because obviously the leg extension very much works the rec fem, which is the muscle of the quads, in its shortened position, whereas the sissy squat is very good at working the rec fem, again that same muscle of the quads, in its lengthened position. And obviously the quads being that kind of big thick thigh muscle on the front of your thighs, quads meaning 4 as in there are 4 kind of muscles within the quads. Although we can't isolate singular areas of the quads, like we can't actually isolate the rec fem for example, what we can do is choose movements that place a little bit more emphasis on them. It's not the movement I would necessarily incorporate as like a prime mover, but maybe towards the end of a workout. The RDL, a bloody fantastic movement. Again, probably one of my favorite movements when it comes to, first of all, working the glutes in their lengthened position, but also working the hamstrings in their lengthened position. Like I said before, you can alter this movement just by essentially changing how bent your knees are to then place either greater emphasis on the glutes or greater emphasis on the hamstrings. So slightly straighter legs, more hamstring focus, slightly more bent legs, more glute focus. And the big thing here is going to be pushing those hips back as far as you can. So it's a bit rushed between reps here. At the top you'll see it's kind of like a bit of a bounce where she's kind of not fully locking out, which again, I'm not saying you necessarily have to, but typically I would treat the RDL almost like I would treat a squat to some extent. And by that I mean I would re-brace every rep and think about going underwater. So big breath in at the top, pushing as much air into your stomach as possible and almost like trying to food baby that stomach, so you're pushing it out as far as possible, and then thinking about tucking your rib cage down to your pelvis and really contracting around the whole kind of core region, so not just the abdominal region, but you think about the lower back as well. Hold that breath while you do the rep. When you finish the rep, breathe out as if you're going underwater and coming out of water, reset. The thing we did see there though, which I'm not a massive fan of to be honest, is the mixed grip. Again, you can certainly mix grip because realistically, as I mentioned before, your grip will probably give out before your hamstrings, glutes, or back give out. But for movements like this, I would typically try and avoid a mixed grip because although it is not necessarily a bad thing, it can lead to the development of some imbalances over time, which could lead to some rotational issues you may be having. Granted, you can kind of counter that to some extent with anti-rotational movements like the pull-off press, for example, where you're working the obliques, but I would still favor straps. So 5 sets of 8, I think 5 sets is quite excessive to be honest. I actually believe I mentioned this when I covered Patty's program many moons ago, where I stated that a lot of her set ranges were quite high and the volume was a bit excessive, and this is kind of early on aligning with that. I probably wouldn't do more than 3 sets. Typically for a lot of people it would be anywhere from 2 to 3 sets, I would say. Preferably I'll be using straps for these, but because I'm not, I'm switching my grip. Yeah, fair enough. So it's great to see that Patty also aligns with the preference of straps. So again, if you don't have straps, I would say mixed grip is a fair alternative, although like I said, straps are probably going to be superior in my eyes. I want to clarify, when you are using straps, please ensure you are using a double overhand grip with the straps when doing movements like this. Don't over under with straps, it kind of semi-defeats the point of eliminating the mixed grip and bringing straps in to prevent the grip from failing. So we have now Smith machine split squats, 4 sets of 10 each leg. Again, at the top of the rep, it does seem a little bit rushed on the reset. It seems to kind of be bang, bang, bang straight into it. Typically I would like a bit more of a reset, just take time a bit, slow it down slightly, and just really think about nailing execution for every rep. Good range of motion, she's all the way down to the bottom. You can see she's tickling the floor there. When doing like a split squat, this is more what I would consider like a static lunge. I would definitely consider elevating that back foot a bit to increase range of motion. And if you want to make this more quad bias and kind of remain a bit more upright, you can also elevate that front heel to then encourage additional knee flexion, so allow the quad to lengthen a bit further. But the split squats are a fantastic movement, and obviously I give you these tips and tricks to make them better and arguably harder, because the split squats have caused me more emotional and physical pain than any other movement. And if I have to bear them through my programming, and I have to then add these variations like the elevated back foot and the elevated heel to make them harder and more painful for me, I feel like it is only fair that we endure that torture together. Because not only are we hopefully accelerating the growth and development of our quads and our glutes, we're also accelerating the growth and development of our character. We're building character and mental resilience by enduring the split squats together as a team. And that's what we do here. Everything we do is a team. So if split squats have to harm me, they have to harm you as well.
Intra-workout snack. I would have preferred something that's just like a pure fast carb, like just sugar candy or a rice cake.
But intra-workout carbs are actually very commonly utilized, especially in the realm like bodybuilding and powerlifting, for example, in which you will consume either like a drink or maybe a snack that is fast-acting carbs. So typically something that's quite sugar dominant that can allow you to kind of help with energy levels throughout the session, arguably allow you to improve performance throughout the session and prevent any kind of flagging you may experience as your workout progresses. But speaking kind of off the top of my head, you would expect someone to consume maybe anywhere from like 25 grams to 100 grams or so of carbs intra-workout if they want to. So now we have a hack squat, again probably one of my favorite quad movements actually, and it's going to be heavily featured in the next video on Monday because it is a fantastic movement that essentially could arguably replace the squat entirely. Again, I think when you're looking at purely like quad hypertrophy, so the development of the quad muscles, typically I would actually probably favor a hack squat over a back squat. I'm not saying the back squat is bad, I'm merely just stating I would probably favor this. Because it is machine based, it typically allows you to take the target musculature, so in this case the quads, closer to failure a bit more safely without any consideration of like dropping the bar, so that may allow it to be a bit more effective when looking at hypertrophy. But it is a fantastic movement, it really is, and you can alter it in so many ways. So Patty, for example, if you can see, she's put a foam roller underneath her back, which could certainly alter how the quads are working ever so slightly, which again is not a bad thing. But for a lot of people, I would typically say like almost master the hack squat as it comes as standard before incorporating any kind of additional bits and bobs like a foam roller under the background, thing like that. Yeah, the big thing here again is really trying to bury that to the floor. Again, she may be a bit, yeah, she's limited here with range of motion. She can't actually go any lower, which is fantastic because it shows that she's getting bloody good ROM. Because this very much works at quads in their lengthened position, so the majority of the tension is at the bottom of the rep, you would typically want to get as low as you comfortably can. Wearing something like a lifting shoe, so a shoe with a raised heel, can encourage a bit more knee flexion, thus lengthening the quads even further if your machine allows you to squat a bit deeper. But obviously, like I said here, Patty is unable to do so because she's literally completing the machine, which is bloody fantastic to see. Good stuff indeed. So what do we have here? We have a lying hamstring curl, fantastic. Another great hamstring movement, and a movement that very much works the hamstrings in their shortened position. So the peak tension is when the heel is kind of towards the bum and the hamstrings are most contracted. So that would be there. A great movement and a great pairing in a workout as well, because she's included the RDL, which works the hamstrings in their lengthened position, and the lying leg curl, which works the hamstrings in their shortened position. So she ticked both boxes there. Bloody fantastic. Love to see that. And the big thing here is, it's really hard to do in fairness, is making sure that you're kind of driving those hips into the pad at all times, because when the hamstrings do reach that kind of shortened position, your hips are going to want to elevate, your bum's going to want to come off the pads, so your bum is almost going to want to lift and come to meet your heels, when in reality we want your heels to come to your bum. Glute Med Kickbacks are next on the agenda. Again, this is actually one of the movements I recommended people consider. Pretty solid technique actually, pretty solid technique. And that rep range being slightly higher, so she's working around the 15 reps. Typically I would, like I said, go for more of a range like 12 to 20, but I do kind of favor slightly higher reps and movements like this, so it's great to see that Patty does as well. The pickle jar and protein post-workout is doing me a concern. I will admit, I'm not sure if that's anabolic. Maybe, in fact, could that be catabolic? But I am a bit concerned by that because I'm going to be honest, again, maybe an unpopular opinion here, like the pizza one many moons ago, I really don't like pickles. I absolutely hate them. I really do. I'm sorry. If you like pickles, you know, all the power to you. But I really dislike them. But they do taste a bit like Summertime Sadness. Shout out Lana Del Rey. An absolute banging tune. Classic. To be honest, that is the workout. I've kind of given my technical tips and tricks here, but I would probably alter a few bits and bobs slightly. So what I would typically do, if let's say I'm keeping all the movements the same, again, depending on what the focus is, let's say it's like an overall leg day, I would typically go hack squats first, followed by RDL, followed by split squats, followed by lying leg curl, followed by glute med kickbacks. Again, there's no right or wrong there, that is merely preference, and I'm choosing to order those movements, like I said, hack squat, RDL, split squat, leg curl, kickback, by order of priority for me, and that priority is determined by how taxing those movements are and how demanding they are. So I deem the hack squat to be the most, not only physically demanding, but psychologically demanding movement. Very closely followed by the RDL, then followed by the split squat. Arguably the split squat would potentially be the most psychologically demanding movement for me personally because they cause me so much turmoil and pain. And obviously the leg curl and the glute kickbacks, being isolation movements, are typically less demanding. When it comes to rep ranges, I would typically start with like lower reps, and as the workout progresses, maybe go to slightly higher reps. So for example, I might go 6 to 10 on both the hack squat and the RDL, maybe 2 sets perhaps. Then I go to maybe 2 or 3 sets of the split squat, let's say 8 to 12 sort of thing each leg. Then I typically look at maybe 3 sets for the lying hamstring curl, let's say about 10 to 15 reps, and maybe 3 sets of the glute kickback, let's say about 12 to 20 reps. Again, that's just off the top of my head how I might structure it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's how you should structure it. That's merely just an example I would give for myself and what my needs are at this current stage of my life and my training career. I do actually really like Patty's video style. I think this kind of raw workout footage, quite a bit of humour throughout, is really easy to watch, and I feel like she mentioned earlier in this outro actually that she found it quite hard to film because she said she doesn't have a lot of friends to film with, which is a shame because I understand how awkward and uncomfortable filming alone can be. But the big thing to remember is in most cases when you're at the gym, people are so focused on what they're doing, they don't really care about what you're doing. They probably don't care that you're filming. But I do understand is, especially when you're in a new gym, it can be really intimidating kind of doing these things that are typically a bit maybe abnormal. More power to you, Patty. I think you're doing fantastic stuff here. Although, like I said, I would alter the workout based on my preferences, my opinions and my beliefs. That doesn't mean you should. It's merely just what I would prefer. But again, you and I may have different ideas when it comes to training, and I'm not saying either is right or wrong, it's just preference, and I fully respect yours. As a whole, pretty solid technique as a whole throughout, bloody strong individual, good movement selection as a whole, very good movements, some really key movements thrown in there, and some movements I would deem to be kind of top 2 tiers of movement selection when it comes to their target musculature. But for myself anyway, I would certainly consider altering exercise order. But that, like I said, that is it. That is the video. But now, obviously, we're going to crack on with comment question of the week. and it's a bit of a different one actually. What's your opinion on stomach vacuums? Are they a scam, or do they really work but the results vary from person to person? I guess the question in response to your question is, results in what sense? Like, what do you expect to achieve from stomach vacuums? Stomach vacuums aren't necessarily going to shrink your waist or anything like that. Getting better at stomach vacuums allows you to vacuum better if that's something you wish to achieve, which is very commonly seen in bodybuilding when you're on stage, to suck in the kind of stomach to create that vacuum. Stomach vacuums are essentially a means of improving diaphragm control, but it's not necessarily going to change your physique or anything like that. It's almost very situational and will help you suck in your stomach really hard if you want to, basically. Like I said at the start of the video, if you like the video, please let me know you like the video by liking the video. 1,300 likes is the goal, so if we reach that, that'd be bloody splendid. I would very much appreciate it. If you haven't already, please do consider clicking the red button down below to subscribe to the channel, and maybe even the bell next to it so you get notified when I upload every week, twice a week. And if you too have a question you want me to answer at the end of the next video, please do consider drop it down below for comment question of the week, and I shall do so. Thank you for tolerating me. Thank you for tolerating my exceptionally colour coordinated outfit today, and thank you for tolerating the video.